The main plaza of Galactic Council Central Station buzzed with excitement as thousands of alien beings gathered to witness what their leaders called justice. 10 humans stood chained on the raised platform in the center of the plaza, their diplomatic uniforms torn and bloodied from 3 days of torture and interrogation. The energy crosses behind them hummed with deadly power, waiting to claim their lives in the slowest way possible. Hyunwoo Park stood at the front of the group, his head held high despite the pain coursing through his broken body. As the lead diplomat for Earth, he had spent 5 years trying to negotiate fair treatment for humanity in the galactic community. Now he would die for refusing to betray his own species. Sojin Kim stood beside him, the military attaché who had warned the council that humanity would not accept slavery disguised as partnership. Her left arm hung useless from the beatings, but her eyes burned with defiance. Taemin Lee, the trade negotiator, spat blood onto the metal floor. He had spent months explaining that Earth would share some technologies in exchange for equal representation, not hand over everything for scraps. The council had called his reasonable terms an insult to their authority. Young Mi Choi, the cultural liaison, watched the alien crowds with sad eyes. She had truly believed that understanding between species was possible, that the differences could be bridged with patience and respect. The energy whips across her back had taught her otherwise. Dong Hyun Yu, the science advisor, calculated the power output of the crosses behind them. His scientific mind worked even now, estimating how long the torture would last, how much pain they would endure before death finally claimed them. Hee-Wan Sung, the communications officer, had spent her last free hours sending coded messages to Earth, warnings that the council intended to make examples of them all. The aliens had found her hidden transmitter too late to stop the final message. Woo Jin Nam, the security chief, tested his bonds one more time. The alien restraints were too strong, but he had expected that. His job had never been to escape but to gather intelligence on alien security measures and fighting capabilities. Even in death, he would serve humanity by providing tactical information. Through the hidden recorders sewn into their clothes, Miran Jang, the medical officer, observed the alien biology around her with professional interest. Each species showed different signs of excitement and bloodlust, information that might prove valuable to human military planners. Seok Jin, the intelligence analyst, had already identified 17 different alien species in the crowd, including several that Earth's databases listed as extinct or mythical. The Council's reach was far greater than humanity had suspected, and their unity more complete. This execution was not just about human defiance, but about maintaining control over hundreds of worlds and billions of beings. Yoon-hee Lim, the legal counsel, reflected on the mockery of justice they had endured. 3 days of trials where the verdict was decided before the first witness spoke, where human rights were dismissed as primitive concepts that had no place in civilized galactic society. Chancellor Vextar stepped onto the platform, his scaled hide gleaming under the station's artificial suns. The reptilian being commanded respect and fear from dozens of species, his authority absolute across thousands of star systems. Behind him walked representatives from the major council races, all eager to witness the humiliation of the upstart, humans who dared demand equality with their betters. The crowd fell silent as Vextar raised his clawed hands for attention. Citizens of the galaxy. His voice boomed through translation devices in 100 different languages. Today we witness the fate of those who refuse the wisdom of the Council. These humans came to us with demands instead of requests, threats instead of tribute, pride instead of proper submission. They claimed their primitive world deserved the same voice as civilizations that mastered space travel while their ancestors lived in caves. The alien crowds cheered and howled their approval. Some species banged weapons against shields. Others sang war chants in languages older than human civilization. The noise was deafening, a celebration of superiority and dominance that echoed through the vast station. Hidden among the crowd, Captain Kyung-ho An of the stealth ship Soul's Vengeance recorded everything through his personal sensors, his ship invisible in the station's shadow thanks to technology the aliens had never seen. The humans spoke of partnership, Vextar continued, his voice dripping with contempt. But they meant conquest. They offered to share some technologies in exchange for equal representation, but we know what they truly wanted. They wanted to study our weaknesses, to learn our military capabilities, to prepare for the day when they felt strong enough to challenge us. Today we show them, and any others who might harbor such foolish dreams, what happens to species that mistake our tolerance for weakness. Hyunwoo Park found his voice despite the damage to his throat. You make a mistake, Chancellor. We came in peace and offered friendship. We asked only for fair treatment and respect. History will judge which of us chose the path of wisdom. His words were translated across the plaza, drawing angry shouts and threats from the crowd. Several aliens threw objects at the platform, calling for immediate execution instead of the planned slow death. History is written by the victors. Vextar replied with a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. And you have already lost. Your world is alone in the darkness, surrounded by our fleets. Your people cower in their cities knowing that their champions have fallen. When you die here today, you take with you any hope that humanity will ever rise above its proper place as servants to superior species. The energy crosses activated with a sound like tearing metal. Invisible fields of force grabbed the 10 humans and lifted them into the air, stretching their bodies against the glowing structures. The crosses began to drain their life force slowly, converting their biological energy into power for the station's systems. It was a death designed to last 3 days, each hour more agonizing than the last, displayed on screens across the galaxy as entertainment and warning. So Jin Kim screamed as the energy field invaded her nervous system, sending waves of pain through every nerve in her body. The crosses were designed to keep their victims conscious and aware, preventing the mercy of unconsciousness or shock. Every species in the galaxy would watch them die in perfect clarity, their suffering broadcast as a testament to the Council's power. Taemin Lee felt his strength beginning to drain away as the cross fed on his life essence. The process was efficient and cruel, designed by scientists who understood exactly how to maximize suffering while prolonging death. He thought of his wife and children back on Earth, hoping they would remember him with pride rather than pity. The Council wanted to break human spirit by making martyrs into victims, but they had chosen the wrong species for such psychological warfare. Captain Kyung-ho An transmitted the live footage directly to Earth through quantum communication channels. The aliens had never detected. Every human alive would witness this atrocity, would see their best and bravest die for the crime of demanding dignity. The captain knew his people well enough to predict their response. The Council thought they were ending human resistance with this display, but they were actually guaranteeing human vengeance. As the first day of torture began, the 10 humans bore their agony with dignity that impressed even some of their executioners. They did not beg for mercy or curse their fate. Instead, they spoke quietly among themselves, sharing memories of Earth and hopes for their people's future. Their calm acceptance in the face of horrific death began to disturb some of the watching aliens, who had expected broken spirits and desperate pleas. The galaxy watched and celebrated, believing they had witnessed the breaking of human ambition. They saw primitive beings who had overreached and paid the ultimate price for their arrogance. What they failed to see was the cold fury building in human hearts across thousands of light years, the careful plans being activated in secret military bases, and the true nature of the species they had just declared war upon through this act of barbaric cruelty. 3 months after the execution, the galaxy had settled into what the Galactic Council considered a natural order restored. Human ships had vanished from alien space routes, their trading posts abandoned, their diplomatic missions closed without explanation. The silence from human territory was complete and absolute, broken only by automated signals that warned approaching vessels to stay away from Earth and its colonies. Chancellor Vextar reviewed reports from across the galaxy with satisfaction. The lesson of the 10 crucified humans had been learned perfectly. No species dared challenge Council authority now, and several previously rebellious worlds had sent tribute ships loaded with resources and apologies for past defiance. The human example had brought peace to the galaxy through proper understanding of the natural hierarchy between superior and inferior species. On Earth, deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Director Jae Sung-kwan stood before a holographic display showing the positions of every known alien fleet in their region of space. The Terran Defense Initiative headquarters buzzed with activity as hundreds of analysts, strategists, and scientists worked around the clock on projects that had been planned for 20 years. The execution of the 10 diplomats had simply provided the political justification to begin operations that were already complete in all but implementation. "The orbital defenses are fully charged," reported Admiral Sujin Bayek, her voice calm, despite the magnitude of what they were discussing. "All colony worlds have been equipped with the new shield generators. Our deep space monitoring stations are tracking 1,600 alien vessels within 50 light-years of human space. None of them suspect that we can detect their supposedly invisible scout ships." Director Kwan nodded slowly as he studied the tactical display. Humanity had learned early in their contact with alien civilizations that the galaxy was not the peaceful federation of equals that first contact protocols had suggested. The Galactic Council ruled through fear and superior firepower, demanding tribute from weaker species and crushing any who showed independence. Human diplomats had been sent to negotiate from a position they knew was weak, buying time for military preparations that had begun the moment alien ships first appeared in Earth's solar system. "Dr. Jin A. Moon, report on Project Darwin," Kwan ordered, turning to the head of the Xenobiology Research Division. The woman stepped forward, her expression grim as she activated her personal display. Images of alien anatomy and biological processes filled the air around them, detailed studies that had been conducted on specimens obtained through methods the public would never need to know about. "We have completed biological profiles on all 47 species in the Galactic Council," Dr. Moon announced. "Each species has specific vulnerabilities that can be exploited through tailored biological weapons, psychological warfare, or targeted electromagnetic attacks. The aquatic Neurathi are vulnerable to synthetic organisms that we have engineered to consume their breathing apparatus. The crystalline Corvani can be disrupted by harmonic frequencies that shatter their internal matrix structures." She paused to activate another display showing genetic maps and molecular structures. "The energy-based Zephyrians lose cohesion when exposed to our quantum disruptors, while the hive-minded Nexari can be driven insane by targeting their telepathic communication nodes with specific neural interference patterns. Every species that participated in or celebrated the execution of our people will face extinction protocols designed specifically for their biology." Admiral Bayek stepped forward as Dr. Moon finished her presentation. "Operation Extinction is ready for implementation. Our stealth fleets are already in position around key alien worlds. Our deep infiltration teams have been gathering intelligence on military installations and civilian population centers for 15 years. The aliens think we retreated in fear, but we have been studying them, learning their weaknesses and preparing to demonstrate what human warfare actually looks like." The room fell silent as the full scope of human preparation became clear to those who had not been involved in the military planning. Director Kwan had spent decades building a military machine capable of fighting a galactic war, hidden beneath the facade of peaceful exploration and diplomatic outreach. The 10 crucified diplomats had been heroes who knew their mission was almost certainly a death sentence, volunteers who bought humanity the final months needed to complete their preparations. "The psychological profiles are equally complete," added Dr. Sangmin Choi, head of Alien Psychology Division. "We understand how each species thinks, what they fear most, and how they will respond to different types of pressure. The Council species all share certain characteristics common to successful predator civilizations. They respect strength, fear the unknown, and become psychologically unstable when their sense of superiority is challenged by evidence of a more capable opponent." The doctor activated his own presentation showing behavioral analysis and cultural studies. "They believe that their current dominance proves their eternal superiority. When they discover that humans have been deliberately showing inferior technology during all previous contacts, their confidence will collapse. When their worlds begin disappearing one by one, they will experience existential terror unlike anything in their evolutionary history. They are accustomed to being the hunters, not the prey." Captain Moon Young Lee entered the command center with the latest reports from the deep space reconnaissance fleets. Her stealth ship had just returned from a 3-month mission into the heart of Council space. gathering final intelligence on military preparations and political stability. The information she carried would determine the timing and sequence of the coming war. The alien fleets are dispersed across 17 sectors, with no concentrated defensive positions, she reported. Their military doctrine assumes that superior individual ship technology compensates for tactical coordination. They have never fought an enemy that could match their firepower, so they have no experience with strategic thinking beyond simple, overwhelming force. Their commanders are selected for political loyalty rather than military competence. Director Quan smiled coldly as he processed this information. The Galactic Council had ruled for thousands of years through technological superiority, crushing primitive species before they could develop effective resistance. They had no experience fighting an enemy that had secretly achieved technological parity while maintaining the appearance of inferiority. Human military doctrine was based on the assumption that they would always face superior enemies, so every strategy emphasized intelligence, deception, and precise application of force against identified weaknesses. The memorial preparations are complete, reported Coordinator Heejin Park, cousin of the executed diplomat Hyunwoo Park. The families of the 10 martyrs have been briefed on the operation timeline. Their sacrifice will be honored by the complete destruction of every species that participated in their execution. The galaxy will learn that humans do not forgive genocide, and we do not accept submission as the price of survival. The holographic display changed to show detailed attack plans for each alien world. Fleets that had been hidden in deep space for years were ready to strike simultaneously across thousands of light years. Each attack was customized for the target species, using weapons and tactics specifically designed to exploit their particular vulnerabilities. The coordinated assault would begin with the species that had shown the most enthusiasm for human suffering, and work systematically through the entire Galactic Council membership. Admiral Bayek outlined the operational sequence as the leadership. Team studied the attack plans. Phase 1 targets the Thraxian and Velcarian homeworlds with quantum phase weapons that will demonstrate our technological capabilities, while eliminating their military leadership. Phase 2 introduces the biological weapons against the Narathi and Mexaran colonies, showing that we can kill them in ways they cannot defend against. Phase 3 begins the systematic extermination of all Council species, proceeding in order of their participation in anti-human activities. The room buzzed with quiet conversation as military officers and scientists discussed technical details and coordination requirements. This was not the desperate strike of a species fighting for survival, but the calculated execution of a plan, 20 years in the making. Humanity had used their apparent weakness to infiltrate alien society, study alien capabilities, and prepare a war machine capable of genocidal warfare against dozens of species simultaneously. Director Quan called for attention as the briefing session reached its conclusion. The 10 who died on those crosses died to give us this moment. They knew that their sacrifice would provide the political unity and moral justification for what we are about to do. The galaxy believes that humans learned submission through suffering. Tomorrow they will learn that humans learned only hatred, and that our capacity for organized violence exceeds anything they have previously encountered. The officers began filing out to return to their commands, each carrying sealed orders for operations that would reshape the galaxy. Behind them, the holographic displays continued showing alien worlds and fleets, targets that would soon discover the true meaning of human patience and the terrible price of underestimating Earth's children. The first strike came without warning on a quiet morning in the Zelkari home system. Commander Binho Kang watched through his ship's sensors as the enemy fleet maintained their routine patrol patterns around the heavily defended world below. The Zelkari had been among the loudest voices calling for human execution, their delegates laughing openly as the 10 diplomats died slowly on their energy crosses. Today they would learn what human laughter sounded like. The Soul's hammer dropped out of quantum phase directly inside the Zelkari defensive perimeter, its hull shimmering with energies that no alien sensor could detect. The ship's appearance sent shockwaves through the defending fleet, as they realized that human stealth technology was decades beyond anything they had imagined possible. Before the first alien ship could react, Commander Kang activated the quantum phase, weapons that would introduce the galaxy to a new level of warfare. The primary Zelkari battleship simply vanished as the quantum field enveloped its hull, every atom in the massive vessel shifting out of phase with normal space-time. The crew had perhaps 3 seconds to understand that they were dying before their ship ceased to exist in any measurable way. The weapon left no debris, no energy signature, no trace that the battleship had ever been built. One moment the pride of the Zelkari fleet was firing its weapons. The next moment there was only empty space and confused alien voices on the communication channels. Captain Moon Young Lee's stealth fleet materialized around the Thraxian homeworld, like ghosts emerging from the void. Her ships had been waiting in the system for 6 months, hidden by technology that bent light and energy around their hulls, while they studied alien defensive patterns and identified priority targets. The Thraxians had provided the energy crosses, used to execute the human diplomats, their scientists taking pride in creating devices that could maximize suffering while prolonging death. The human ships unleashed their first coordinated strike against the orbital defense platforms that protected Thrax Prime. Harmonic disruptor beams targeted the crystalline matrix structures that powered alien shield generators, sending resonant frequencies through the crystal lattice at precise intervals designed to create cascading failure. The platforms exploded one by one as their power cores overloaded, taking with them the protective barriers that had defended the world for 3,000 years. Down on the planet's surface, Thraxian military commanders watched in horror as their supposedly impregnable defenses collapsed in minutes. The human ships were using technology that should not have existed, weapons that targeted the fundamental physics of Thraxian engineering with impossible precision. Emergency broadcasts went out across the galaxy as the first alien world in 4 millennia found itself helpless before an attacking fleet. Admiral Youngsu Cho's Deep Space Fleet struck the Narathi ocean worlds with weapons designed specifically for their aquatic environment. The aliens had celebrated human suffering by releasing toxins into their ceremonial pools, a ritual demonstration of their ability to poison any environment that threatened their dominance. Dr. Jin-A Moon's synthetic organisms were about to return that favor with interest that had been accumulating for 3 months. The biological weapons were introduced through the planetary water cycle, microscopic organisms engineered to target the specialized breathing apparatus that allowed Narathi to extract oxygen from water. The organisms multiplied rapidly in the mineral-rich oceans, spreading through every body of water on 7 different worlds simultaneously. Within hours, Narathi colonies that had thrived for millennia found their populations gasping and dying, as their biological systems failed in ways their medical science could not understand or treat. General Dal Ho Wang coordinated the psychological warfare operations that accompanied each military strike. Human broadcasts flooded alien communication networks with footage of the dying diplomats, their final words, and detailed documentation of their torture and execution. The images were paired with real-time video of burning alien cities and disappearing fleets, making it clear that this was not random violence but calculated vengeance for specific crimes. The broadcasts included personal messages from the families of the executed humans, thanking the alien species for making this demonstration necessary. Hyejin Park appeared on screens across the galaxy to explain that her cousin Hyunwoo had died believing that peaceful coexistence was possible, and that his death had taught humanity that some species could only be dealt with through their complete removal from the universe. Operative Guillaume Ho Shin led the infiltration teams that had been placed on alien worlds years before first contact was ever officially established. These agents activated simultaneously across 17 different systems, sabotaging power grids, communication networks, and military command centers while human fleets engaged the orbital defenses. The aliens discovered that humans had been among them for decades, studying their weaknesses and preparing for this day. The Corvani crystal cities resonated with harmonic frequencies that shattered their silicon-based architecture from within. Engineer Yejin Ha had spent 5 years studying captured Corvani technology to understand exactly how their crystalline matrix structures could be disrupted through targeted sound waves. The weapons that destroyed their cities played music composed from the dying screams of the 10 executed humans, a symphony of vengeance that reduced crystal spires to powder. Biochemist Tai Hua Ryu watched from his laboratory as reports came. in from the Mexaran colonies. His synthetic plague was spreading through their population centers exactly as modeled, targeting the unique genetic markers that distinguished Mexarans from other humanoid species. The disease was designed to be completely lethal to Mexarans, while harmless to any other form of life, a demonstration of human precision in biological warfare. Each alien species faced weapons and tactics specifically designed for their biology and psychology. The energy-based Zephyrians found their cohesion disrupted by quantum field generators that prevented their particles from maintaining stable patterns. The hive-minded Nexari experienced mass insanity as neural interference broadcasts destroyed their telepathic communication networks, leaving billions of individuals suddenly alone in their own minds for the first time in their evolutionary history. Captain Kyung-ho An, who had recorded the original execution, led the assault on the station where the 10 humans had died. His fleet surrounded the massive structure with ships that had been invisible to alien sensors for months while they studied every defensive system and identified every person involved in the torture and execution of the diplomatic team. The station's defenders found themselves fighting enemies who knew their capabilities better than they knew themselves. The human attack was not the savage assault of barbarians seeking revenge, but the calculated operation of a military machine that had studied its enemies for 20 years. Every weapon was chosen for maximum psychological impact as well as tactical effectiveness. Every target was selected to demonstrate human capabilities while systematically dismantling alien civilization. The message was clear to any species intelligent enough to understand it. Analyst Hoon Ki Park, cousin of the executed intelligence, Officer Seok Jin, coordinated the intelligence operations that identified every alien individual involved in anti-human activities. The humans had been recording and analyzing alien behavior since first contact, building detailed profiles on millions of individuals across dozens of species. Those who had celebrated human suffering would be hunted down individually, while those who had shown sympathy or neutrality might be allowed to survive in refugee camps. The galaxy's communication networks carried desperate pleas from alien leaders, begging for mercy and offering surrender terms. Chancellor Vexitar himself appeared on emergency broadcasts, claiming that the execution had been a mistake and offering to make reparations for human losses. His messages were answered with footage of Thraxian cities burning and Zelkari fleets disappearing into quantum phase fields. Field Marshal Sang-Hoon Kim delivered humanity's response to the surrender offers by systematically destroying the Velkarian home fleet in full view of their planetary population. The aliens were forced to watch as their most advanced warships were torn apart by weapons that ignored their shields and armor, while human voices broadcast the names of the 10 martyrs and explained exactly why no mercy would be shown to species that had chosen genocide as their entertainment. The first phase of Operation Extinction was complete within 72 hours of initiation. 17 alien worlds had been attacked simultaneously, their defenses crushed and their populations facing biological weapons, targeted bombardment, or systematic extermination depending on their species' level of participation in anti-human activities. The galaxy was learning that humans did not fight wars for territory or resources, but for the complete destruction of enemies who had proven they could not coexist with human civilization. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy as alien governments tried to understand what had happened to their supposedly superior technology and unbeatable fleets. The humans they had dismissed as primitive savages were demonstrating military capabilities that exceeded anything the Galactic Council had ever developed. Worse, Chancellor Vexitar paced the emergency session chamber as reports of destruction flooded in from across the galaxy. In 72 hours, humanity had demonstrated military technology and strategic capabilities that exceeded everything the Galactic Council had developed over thousands of years of conquest and expansion. Species that had ruled star systems since before Earth's sun was born were being systematically exterminated by weapons that seemed to ignore the fundamental laws of physics and biology. The Thraxian representative no longer attended the sessions because there were no Thraxians left to represent. Their homeworld was a lifeless rock, its crystal cities reduced to powder by harmonic weapons that had resonated through their silicon-based architecture like a tuning fork striking crystal glass. The few survivors in off-world colonies were dying slowly, as the same harmonic frequencies were broadcast through subspace communication networks, proving that humans could kill them anywhere in the galaxy. Analyst Hoon-Key Park stood in the Intelligence Center on Earth, studying holographic displays that tracked the location and status of every surviving council member. His team had spent years building detailed profiles on alien leadership structures, identifying family members, personal relationships, and psychological vulnerabilities that could be exploited during the systematic elimination process. The humans were not simply destroying enemy fleets and bombing cities, but hunting down specific individuals with the precision of professional assassins. The Mexaran High Command is in full retreat toward the Galactic Rim, reported Intelligence Officer Dasim Lee. Our deep space hunter fleets are tracking their escape attempt. Admiral Cho's ships have been positioned along their projected route for 6 months, waiting for exactly this scenario. The Mexarans will be intercepted and eliminated before they reach the edge of Council space. The intelligence network that supported Operation Extinction was vast and sophisticated, built over 2 decades of careful observation and infiltration. Human agents had been placed in alien societies years before official first contact, studying military capabilities, political structures, and cultural weaknesses while appearing to be primitive explorers or traders, seeking simple commercial relationships. The aliens had welcomed human curiosity about their societies, never suspecting that they were providing intelligence for their own destruction. Admiral Young-Soo Cho received the intercept coordinates as his hunter-killer fleet moved through deep space toward the fleeing Mexaran ships. The aliens were running toward what they thought was safety at the galactic edge, but they were actually running directly into a trap that had been prepared specifically for this possibility. Human strategic planning assumed that some enemies would attempt to flee rather than fight, and contingencies had been prepared for every possible escape route. The Mexaran fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers carrying the surviving leadership and military command structure of their species. They had abandoned their homeworld and colonies when the biological weapons began spreading through their population, hoping to preserve their civilization by establishing a new colony beyond human reach. The quantum phase drives on their ships represented the fastest technology in Council space, capable of crossing the galaxy in weeks rather than months. Admiral Cho's ships had been waiting in the void between galaxies for 8 months, powered down and invisible to all known detection methods while their crews practiced the complex maneuvers required for deep space interception. The hunter fleet consisted of vessels designed specifically for pursuit operations, equipped with quantum drives that could outrun any known alien technology and weapon systems designed to prevent escape rather than simply destroy enemy forces. P2. Interception came without warning, as the Mexaran ships dropped out of quantum drive to recalibrate their navigation systems. Human vessels materialized around them in perfect formation, having anticipated their exact location and timing based on detailed analysis of Mexaran navigation protocols. The aliens found themselves surrounded by ships that should not have been able to reach this location, using technology that exceeded their understanding of physics. Field Marshal Sang-Hoon Kim coordinated the elimination of the Mexaran fleet from his command ship, broadcasting the execution live to the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The alien leadership watched in horror as their colleagues were systematically killed using weapons that converted matter directly into energy, leaving nothing behind but expanding spheres of plasma that marked where ships and crews had once existed. This is humanity's answer to your request for mercy, Field Marshal Kim announced as the last Mexaran ship was destroyed. You crucified our diplomats for the crime of demanding dignity and respect. We crucify your entire civilization for the crime of thinking that genocide could be used as entertainment. There will be no survivors, no refugees, no remnant populations to rebuild what you have lost. Back on Council Central Station, the surviving alien representatives struggled to comprehend the scope of human military preparation and the cold efficiency of their revenge. Species that had dominated galactic politics for millennia were being eliminated faster than the Council could track the attacks. Human fleets appeared simultaneously across dozens of star systems, their movements coordinated with precision that suggested a level of strategic planning that exceeded anything in alien military doctrine. The Nirathi delegate gasped for air as she tried to speak, her aquatic breathing apparatus failing as synthetic organisms spread through the life support systems of the station itself. The humans had introduced their biological weapons into the central facility, where the 10 diplomats had been executed, demonstrating that nowhere in the galaxy was safe from their reach. Emergency medical teams found that the organisms were specifically engineered to target Council species, while leaving other life forms completely unaffected. Chancellor Vextar activated the emergency communication system to broadcast surrender terms directly to Earth, offering complete capitulation and unlimited reparations in exchange for the survival of the remaining Council species. His message included personal apologies for the execution of the human diplomats, promises to rebuild their memorial as a permanent reminder of Council mistakes, and detailed proposals for establishing humanity as the dominant species in galactic government. The response came from Director Jae-sung Kwon himself, speaking from the memorial chamber where the names of the 10 martyrs were inscribed on walls that had once been part of an alien prison. There will be no negotiation, no surrender terms, no mercy for species that chose to make our people suffer for your entertainment. You had 20 years to learn that humans value dignity above survival. You chose to teach us that you value dominance above coexistence. General Dalho Wang led the assault teams that materialized inside Council Central Station, using teleportation technology that the aliens had believed was impossible. The human soldiers wore armor that rendered them invisible to alien sensors, while providing complete protection against energy weapons, and they carried weapons that could selectively target individual species based on genetic markers detected at range. The battle for the station was not a military engagement but an extermination operation, as human forces systematically hunted down every alien involved in the execution ceremony, while leaving support staff and neutral species unharmed. Each council member was identified through facial recognition software and eliminated with weapons specifically chosen for psychological impact on their particular species. The Velcarian commander who had supervised the construction of the energy Crosses was killed by a weapon that slowly converted his crystalline exoskeleton into powder, while keeping him conscious and aware of his disintegration. The Zephyrian energy being who had provided the power for the torture devices was destroyed by quantum disruptors that scattered her particles across several dimensions simultaneously, ensuring that her death would be as prolonged and agonizing as those of the human diplomats. Captain Wan Shik-yoon led the technical teams that seized control of the station's communication networks, broadcasting the final moments of Council leadership to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The message was clear and simple. This was the fate that awaited any species that chose to threaten human life or dignity. The aliens had made the mistake of believing that their technological superiority made them untouchable, but humanity had been preparing for this war since the day they first encountered alien civilization. Dr. Jin-A Moon activated the biological warfare protocols that would ensure the complete extinction of targeted species. The synthetic organisms had been programmed to evolve and adapt to any medical countermeasures the aliens might develop, while spreading through their populations, faster than any quarantine could contain. The weapons were designed to be completely species-specific, ensuring that only Council members would suffer, while neutral species remained unaffected by the biological apocalypse. Operative Geum-ho Shin coordinated the final phase of intelligence operations, hunting down alien individuals who had fled to remote systems or attempted to hide among neutral populations. 2 years after the execution of the 10 human diplomats, President Mao Chin-yong stood in the ruins of what had once been the Galactic Council Central Station. The massive structure had been converted into Memorial Station of the 10, a monument to human patience and the terrible price of underestimating Earth's children. The energy crosses where Hyun-woo Park and his colleagues had died now supported an eternal flame that burned with light harvested from the dying stars of extinct civilizations. The transformation of the station was complete and absolute. Where alien crowds had once cheered for human suffering, Earth's children now walked through gardens planted with flowers from every human world. The torture chamber where the diplomats had been held was preserved exactly as it had been found, but surrounded by holographic displays showing the final moments of the species that had participated in their execution. The memorial was both tribute and warning, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Fleet Commander Kyung-ho An reviewed the final reports from the Deep Space Hunter fleets as they returned from the Galactic Rim. The last surviving members of the original Galactic Council had been located and eliminated 3 months earlier, their refugee ships intercepted by human vessels that had been tracking them across interstellar space for over a year. Operation Extinction was officially complete, with 13 species rendered entirely extinct and 5 others surviving only in controlled populations under human supervision. The surviving alien species had been carefully selected based on their response to human diplomacy during the years before the execution. Those who had shown neutrality or sympathy were permitted to live under strict conditions, their worlds now protected by human fleets and their governments guided by human advisors. The Altarians, who had abstained from voting on human execution, found their star system shielded by quantum barriers that prevented any external threats from reaching their homeworld. Admiral Sujin Bayek coordinated the establishment of permanent human garrisons throughout the former Council space. The military infrastructure required to maintain control over hundreds of star systems was enormous. But humanity had been preparing for galactic domination since the day they realized that peaceful coexistence was impossible with species that viewed genocide as acceptable entertainment. Every major system now hosted a human battle fleet capable of sterilizing entire worlds within hours. Dr. Jin-A Moon presented the final biological warfare assessment to the Human Leadership Council. The synthetic organisms that had eliminated the aquatic species had been successfully contained and neutralized, ensuring that they would not evolve beyond their original programming. The harmonic weapons used against silicon-based life forms had been refined to target specific frequency ranges, preventing accidental damage to human technology that used similar crystalline components. The efficiency of human warfare had impressed even neutral alien observers who had watched the systematic destruction of the Galactic Council. Humanity had demonstrated the ability to fight multiple species simultaneously across thousands of light years, using weapons and tactics specifically designed for each enemy, while maintaining perfect coordination between fleets that never came within communication range of each other. The level of strategic planning and technological capability required for such operations exceeded anything previously seen in galactic warfare. Captain Won-Shik Yoon prepared his colony ship for departure toward the Andromeda Galaxy, carrying both human settlers and detailed intelligence files on every species they might encounter in the neighboring galaxy. The expedition was both exploration and preparation, establishing human presence beyond the borders of their home galaxy, while gathering information that might prove necessary if the Andromedan civilizations proved as hostile as those they had just eliminated. The ships carried complete manufacturing capabilities for human military technology, ensuring that any threats encountered in Andromeda could be dealt with using the same methods that had proven effective against the Galactic Council. More importantly, they carried the cultural memory of the 10 martyrs and the understanding that humans could not afford to show weakness to alien civilizations that might interpret mercy as an opportunity for future aggression. General Dal Ho Wang supervised the construction of monitoring stations throughout human-controlled space, each equipped with sensors capable of detecting approaching vessels from neighboring galaxies. The network would provide early warning of any external threats while ensuring that no surviving council members could return from deep space to threaten human security. The monitoring technology was based on captured alien systems that had been improved using human engineering principles. The psychological impact of Operation Extinction extended far beyond the borders of former council space. Reports from deep space exploration missions indicated that dozens of alien civilizations had withdrawn from interstellar activities rather than risk attracting human attention. The galaxy had learned that Earth's children were not the primitive species seeking acceptance that they had initially appeared to be, but apex predators capable of systematic genocide when their security was threatened. Coordinator Hyejin Park dedicated the final phase of the memorial construction, ensuring that the names and stories of the 10 martyrs would be preserved for future generations of humans who might face similar challenges. The memorial included detailed records of the torture and execution, paired with documentation of the revenge that followed, creating a permanent reminder of both human vulnerability and human capability when pushed beyond acceptable limits. The families of the executed diplomats were given places of honor in the new galactic government, their insights helping to shape policies toward remaining alien species. So-Jin Kim's daughter became head of alien military assessment, using her mother's final reports to understand how different species approached warfare and diplomacy. Taemin Lee's son supervised trade negotiations with surviving civilizations, ensuring that humans received appropriate compensation for providing protection services. President Jung addressed the human colonies from the Central Memorial Chamber, his words broadcast to every human settlement across 2 galaxies. The 10 who died here gave us more than martyrdom. They gave us understanding of our place in a universe where survival depends on the willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect our people and our values. The galaxy learned that humans do not accept submission, and we do not forgive genocide. The memorial plaque bore inscriptions in over 1,000 languages, including those of extinct species, carrying the same message to any alien visitors who might wonder about human intentions. They crucified 10 of us. We crucified their entire civilization. Choose your enemies wisely. The words were carved into metal taken from the hull plating of the last Council warship, ensuring that the message would endure for geological ages. Admiral Young-Soo Cho established the Deep Space Patrol Service, maintaining hunter-killer fleets beyond the galactic rim to intercept any surviving alien groups that might attempt to return with reinforcements from distant civilizations. The patrol ships carried enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems, and their crews were volunteers who understood that they might spend decades in deep space, protecting humanity from threats that might never actually materialize. Toikei. Economic benefits of Operation Extinction were enormous, as human colonies gained access to the industrial infrastructure and resource deposits of hundreds of worlds. The captured alien technology was studied and improved, leading to advances in quantum physics, biological engineering, and space travel that accelerated human expansion into previously unreachable regions of the galaxy. The wealth of dead civilizations funded the construction of new human worlds. Dr. Sang-Min Choi completed his analysis of alien psychological profiles, creating guidelines for human interaction with the species they might encounter in future expansion. The research indicated that most intelligent life forms followed similar patterns of development, beginning with cooperation within their own species, but becoming predatory toward external groups once they achieved interstellar travel. Humanity would need to assume hostility from any new contacts until proven otherwise. The surviving alien species were required to send annual delegations to Memorial Station of the 10, where they participated in ceremonies commemorating the sacrifice of the human diplomats and acknowledging the price of threatening Earth's children. The rituals served as both tribute and reminder, ensuring that new generations of aliens would understand the consequences of anti-human activities. The ceremonies were broadcast across the galaxy as both education and warning. Field Marshal Sang-Hoon Kim oversaw the final phase of military consolidation, ensuring that human battle fleets maintained overwhelming superiority over any possible combination of surviving alien forces. The military doctrine developed during Operation Extinction became the standard for human space forces, emphasizing technological superiority, strategic patience, and absolute commitment to the complete destruction of enemies that chose genocide over coexistence. 10 years after the execution, human children played in gardens built from the ashes of alien worlds, while their parents worked in factories powered by the collected energy of extinct suns.